Okay. Almost. Well, we should be just about streaming live to YouTube now. Oh, I forgot to get more beer.
Oh, there you go. Start your show.
Okay. Kyle's gonna go get more beer
Sure will.
while I start the show. We have ice packs today because it's kind of warm here. Just go ahead and there we go. Hi everyone and welcome to Awesome Hardware. This is a live show. We talk about technology, computers, computer parts, PC gaming. We stream every Tuesday evening at 5:30 p.m. Pacific time. We stream the entire show, which usually goes for, 1 to 2 hours, depending on how much we drink, to twitch.tv/awesomehardware. And we also stream to our YouTube channels. The first half of today's episode, which is number 189, has already been streamed to Kyle's channel, Bitwit. That's linked in the video's description if you want to check it out.
And now I just get to sit here and drink beer while you talk.
Yeah, you rub it in my face, why don't you?
I sure will.
I'm gonna sit here and drink beer while I talk too. Speaking of beer, we do drink a beer or two on the show. We feel free to join us. Drink responsibly, please. And if you don't like the drinking of the beer, then don't watch our show. We also use adult language from time to time, so sorry about that, but it's always appropriate. And if you don't like that, then don't watch our show too.
Yep. Many reasons to not watch this show.
Yeah, but we try to get them out there at the beginning so people don't waste their time. If you like being told things up front so you don't waste your time, then watch our show. See? So there's reasons to watch the show as well.
Yeah. Evens out.
If you don't like shameless plugs for stores that sell our merchandise,
Don't watch our show.
don't watch our show. But if you do, then maybe
Watch our show.
consider buying something. paulshardware.net is my store where you can buy shirts, mugs, pint glasses, hoodies, bottle openers. They're all real nice. Most recent new design is this captive thumbscrew shirt, which I still need to get one that fits me.
Look,
But
me too.
it's a great shirt. It's a great shirt and everyone really likes it. paulshardware.net for my store. Kyle's store is bitwit.tech/store. He also has a new design in the Screw with Confidence shirt. There it is. It's beautiful.
It's glorious.
We are not doing an after party today, but we will try to give some shout outs to people who buy stuff during the show at the end of my half. So thanks to you guys who do that and support our channels and our future endeavors and so on and so forth. Okay, that said, we're going to get right back into some technology news. Wait, I have a thing here. There we go. Starting with the big news of this week. So, like, E3 is going on right now, so there's a lot of gaming news, and we actually talked about a bunch of different video games and trailers and stuff on Kyle's half of the show. So if you missed that, check it out. We're going to talk more about a little bit of gaming stuff, but also the hardware stuff. And AMD was the one who really came with the big announcements. Yesterday, they had a live-streamed event, and they have finally revealed some pricing, some release dates for their Navi-based graphics cards. We talked about the CPU side of things on Kyle's half of the show. We're going to talk about that a little bit more in the way of opinion stuff later on in my show, so stick around for that. But here's what we have on the Navi side, and this article's from PC Gamer. We have the Radeon RX 5700 XT, seen here being held up by AMD CEO Lisa Su. It's going to cost $450 US. It has a 225 watt TDP, 40 compute units, 2,560 stream processors, 8 gigs of GDDR6 clocked at 14 gig transfers per second. 14 gigabits per second is the transfer speed for 448 gigabytes per second of total bandwidth. They're pitching it as a 1440p gaming graphics card. And then frequencies are a base clock of 1605, a boost clock of 1905, and something that they're calling game clock, which is 1755 megahertz. Here's all those stats right there. If you're wondering about these clock speeds down here, game clock, the one in the middle, is kind of like the lower end of your expected frequency that you'd be running at while you're just playing a normal video game.
Right.
And that'll vary depending on the game and depending on your system and depending on your cooling and lots of stuff like that. But basically what AMD told us is while you're actually gaming, what you should be seeing is a frequency somewhere between your game clock and the boost clock.
Right.
Boost clock is more like an ideal, like if you have really good cooling and you're keeping everything nice and chilly in there and, you're playing a game that the graphics card can keep up with, I guess,
Mm-hmm.
then you should be seeing something closer to the boost clock. But it's a different way. It's sort of a newer way of describing things. When I have been talking about clock speeds for graphics cards, like what NVIDIA has been doing for quite some time, ever since they started saying, like, look, we don't have a fixed frequency, it changes, which is a good idea.
Yeah.
I typically talk about the base clock that they give, the max frequency, which would be kind of like what they're saying is boost clock here.
Yeah.
And then I usually try to give an average frequency, which is, in my experience, what I see in actual gameplay, real world results. So, hopefully that plays out when in testing, and the frequencies that they're giving here are accurate.
It's a little confusing because I feel like the game clock it almost fits the description of like what you would imagine a base clock would be. Because like AMD is saying like this is sort of like they're not like really guaranteeing it, but they're saying the majority of gamers can expect to see at bare minimum this clock speed in games, which in my mind sounds like a base clock. Like this is the base expectation, but in reality the base clock
But they
is
called
what
that base clock.
right. But then the base clock is like if you were running like super heavy underload like stress test applications, correct?
So if I'm hearing you right, you're saying that this game clock here to you seems to indicate that it's more like a base clock?
Or that it sounds
But
like
they have a base clock that's called base clock.
Well, it sounds like base clock would be the better suited name for what the game clock represents.
I don't know if I agree with you there, but
Okay.
so what they said is if you're running Furmark or something like that,
Yeah.
a power virus type GPU test, synthetic test, which puts stress levels on the GPU that you would never get anywhere close to with any normal video game.
Right.
Then you will be running at the base clock.
Because it's getting a lot hotter. It's
Because they're
running the
saying
most...
under the most extreme, strenuous
Right.
environment or testing scenario,
Right.
this is the lowest frequency that it should be running at.
Sure.
And I think, like, based on what they said, it'll downclock below this if it's idle or something like that, if you're just on the
Yeah.
desktop, if you're not doing something that's 3D rendered.
Right.
So, like, I don't know.
Then maybe they should have called it a min clock or something.
min
Like, I think min clock would be
Right.
more... Because if it's going to be... If they're saying that the actual frequency is going to operate between game clock and boost clock, min and boost seems kind of like the perfect kind of end cap, description of what those frequencies represent. No, game clock just sounds weird.
Okay.
I'm being nitpicky.
It's fair enough. Well, I mean, we'll see how this plays out and whether it's nomenclature that catches on or anything.
Yeah.
There's also a Radeon RX 5700, which is the lower end version. This one's going to be $379 US, 380. This one has a lower TDP as well, 175 watts, so about 50 watts less than the XT's 225. 36 compute units, 2,304 stream processors, 8 gigs of GDDR6, running at the same speed as far as I've been told, and then lower clock speeds basically.
Yeah.
It seems to be you got a slightly cut down GPU, and then lower clock speeds to hit that lower TDP, and about $70 cheaper.
And
Yeah.
is that the actual what it's going to look like, the
Yeah.
shroud?
Yeah.
So it's not going to have that sort of dent in it like the XT version.
No. So the 5700 has this shroud design, which is a lot more reminiscent of like the Radeon 7 that they launched a few months back.
Right.
So I mean, it's pretty clean looking and everything. Internally, I believe the blower style cooler they have is exactly the same. So this is just an aesthetic exterior. Here's my
Right.
video where I have a bit of footage of this shroud, which is for the 5700 XT, and it's got this sort of little dent in the middle, little divot right there. And I've seen various feedback on that from people who say that it looks cool, to other people who are like, it's just squished right there.
It looks like a dent.
It looks like a dent. It follows the contour. So if you look internally at the layout of the blower fan and everything, and it's got a vapor chamber that's over here, and these typically will take the blower fan and sort of direct the air that's being pushed, so it curves in there. So you don't need to keep it open there, I think is why they decided to do that, I guess. But I don't know. I'm sure it's an aesthetic thing, so Some people will love it. Some people will hate it.
They just wanted to make it a little different, I think.
This is you see Steve back there, by the way?
Yeah, just creeping?
Yeah.
Oh,
Like,
it's
I'm
super
sitting there
creepy.
trying to get epic B-roll.
What is this?
Steve's in there just like, I'm going to measure something here.
But you know he's just doing it to
Look at
sabotage your video.
Look
He's
at the
clearly...
Look at the look in his eye right
out
there.
to
I'm
get
trying
you.
to pause this.
So he's got his own...
Look how that's a
sadistic Steve.
Right? He's got kind of
He's
a
like
Joker,
smiling.
You can tell he's got like a Joker grin.
Yeah, he does.
On his face,
Look at how
too.
sharp the angle is of his eyebrow.
yeah.
That's like, I'm going to kill someone angle.
And I asked him what he was doing. He wouldn't tell me after that, so it's very...
Going to measure you.
very tricky.
Measure your body, Paul. This Gamers Nexus branded ruler.
Yes, but Steve was there. It was good to catch up with him a bit.
Oh, yeah. He's good peeps.
Other than that, I mean, we have all these specs. I guess we have these benchmark charts that AMD put out, which are right here. So.
Oh, yeah. Best of best.
Now, bear in mind when you're looking at these charts, like marketing charts, they change the way the layouts of graphs go pretty frequently. So the RTX 2070 here, the gray bar for that is representing 100% of the RTX 2070's performance.
Mm-hmm.
So it might be hitting different frames per second in each of these games that they're showing here: Assassin's Creed Odyssey, Battlefield 5, Black Ops 4, Far Cry New Dawn, Metro Exodus, and so on. And then they're showing percentage-wise how much faster or slower the 5700 XT is. By and large, it is faster.
Yep.
Slower in a couple games, Shadow of the Tomb Raider and Civ 6. It also has the quality setting that they're using here. So basically what they're saying is that the 5700 XT in their testing is faster than the RTX 2070 in this set of games by and large. And they threw in a couple games where it was slower just to show that they're being fair.
Mm-hmm.
We also have this chart, which is the 5700 compared to the RTX 2060. Similar layout here, 100% performance for the 2060, and then plus percentage points for how much faster they say the 5700 is.
Yeah.
So, what you see here in these charts is C EndNote's RX 366. So the full deck for these, which this is something that it came to mind when I was doing my video yesterday. The full deck for these is available to press, so we can download it from like a shared source that AMD shares with press.
Yeah.
And that at the very end has a bunch of footnotes that says like, these tests
Tested with this
tested in this configuration or whatever like that.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of these get shared with people and they can't necessarily reference that information.
Right.
And I'm bringing this up with the full knowledge that I don't have that information that I pulled up to share with you guys right now anyway.
Yeah, I don't either.
So, point being, it's always grain of salt. You never know how accurate these benchmarks are going to be when they come directly from the manufacturer, and whether or not they sort of massage something or tried to slip something in one way or another.
Yeah, this is marketing. At the end of the day, this is marketing.
But then there's also some other things you have to consider. Let's assume this is accurate and the performance numbers are there and that the 5700 and 5700 XT are faster than what AMD is pitching them against, the RTX 2060 and 2070. You also have to keep in mind that the RTX 2060 and 2070 are 6 and 10 months old at this point. They've been out for a bit. They are also built on 12 nanometer technology, as opposed to the 7 nanometer that Navi is based on.
Right.
And they have lower TDPs. So Navi has higher TDP despite being on 7 nanometer versus 12 nanometer.
Right.
2060 RTX 2060 is 160 watt TDP, 2070 is 175 watt TDP. So all this is to say, when I got all the news about like the Ryzen 3000 stuff and the Navi stuff, on the Navi side, I'm glad this is here. This is using RDNA, which is a completely new GPU architecture. So it is a successor to GCN. It's not some it's not a rehash of GCN or anything like that, like the Radeon 7 was. So we're seeing some potential here, but you don't have tensor cores, you don't have hardware ray tracing support, which might not be important to you at all.
Right.
But it is something that you get with the RTX stuff.
Yeah, it's a feature
that you're not getting with that. So all this is stuff that you should keep in mind if you're considering a GPU purchase and whatnot. So I think these are going to be competitive in the mid-range. I don't know if the prices that they came out with are like sticking it to NVIDIA quite as much as
they're
they could
definitely
have.
not.
I saw a lot of people say, $50 off of both of these, and it'd be like, wow, these are, you're
super
definitely going to
now.
buy these over the NVIDIA options.
Right.
At $450, if you're comparing the Radeon 5700 XT to supposedly the $500 RTX 2070, the RTX 2070 is $450 these days too. They're available, and they do dip down below NVIDIA's MSRP that they first pitched.
Last I checked, they were all at 500 on Newegg.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I couldn't find one for less than
Call me a liar?
$495.
Call me a liar?
I didn't check Amazon, so maybe on Amazon they're cheaper.
All right,
But
we're
I checked
gonna
the
check
other
this
day.
right now because Kyle's trying to call me a liar. Video
That's
cards.
my main MO. Okay, we've got a 479. We've got a 479 option here on
479.
It's an EVGA. Looks like a pretty standard one.
How do you even buy the 20 series? Oh, there it is.
479 is the cheapest I'm seeing for RTX
For
2070.
Apply.
There's also a blower style MSI one that's probably not as good.
Right. Well, according to the article, they dipped down to 450, but maybe you gotta wait for
If you find them on sale, sure.
something.
Yeah, but just
Lowest
generally.
price. Wait, were you looking at Amazon? Or, oh yeah,
I was
475.
Oh wow.
What?
Oh, it's all open
It's
box.
open box though. So.
Okay, yeah.
All right.
I was looking at new, but I definitely thought that the RTX, I'm sorry, the 5700 XT pricing was a bit more competitive than the non-XT, because you can find RTX 2060s for $350,
Yeah.
which undercuts the MSRP on the 5700 by about $20.
And I think in that case, AMD is hoping you'll look at the memory allocation. Of
Yeah,
like 8
right.
gigs versus 6 gigs.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if you're looking at 1440 gameplay,
There's an argument to be made there.
that might be a selling point for
Yeah.
you. So there you go.
Yeah.
And I apologize for lying to everyone about the $450 RTX 2070.
It wasn't your fault.
I blame. Wait, who wrote this PC World article? Paul Lilly. Damn it, Paul.
God damn it, Paul!
Bringing shame. Oh wait, no, never mind. It wasn't Paul Lilly.
We can't even blame the right person.
It was Jared.
Jared, goddamn
Damn
it,
it,
Jared.
Jared. He was there at the end of the year.
Blame Jared.
Okay, speaking
Okay,
of Paul Lilly, let's move on to the next thing to talk about. Intel. So we already talked on Kyle's half about the Ryzen 3000 series stuff. We're going to do some opinion questions in just a minute, but Intel has come out. They came out a day before AMD's event, and they said, "Come beat us in real-world gaming, AMD." Yeah, shots fired and stuff, which is interesting because Intel. This is a different sort of tack than Intel has taken in the past.
Right.
Intel in the past, you ask them about AMD when it comes to competition, and their response was more likely going to be, "Who?"
Yeah.
And basically not even acknowledge the existence or viability of AMD at all.
Stupid.
Which, in my opinion, if you're trying to throw shade, is a better way to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're trying to throw shade, I don't think you should bother throwing shade at all.
Right.
You should stand on the merits of the product that you're putting out and be like, look, here's the performance. And
should be enough.
Yeah. But if you're gonna throw shade, I feel like that's a little bit more classy way of doing it. But they decided to do this time around, which was to say, so you're going to hear a lot about gaming CPUs this week.
I haven't heard this
They
yet.
may or may not come from certain 3-letter acronyms. I love how the different competitors refer to each other.
I know.
They usually say our competitor.
Right.
And then every once in a while they accidentally say them by name, and it's like, oh my gosh.
It's like Voldemort.
We said the name of the competitor. That said, here's what I want to challenge you. I want to challenge you to challenge them. If they want this crown, come beat us in real-world gaming. Real-world gaming should be the defining criteria that we use to assess the world's best gaming CPU. This is from John Carvel, who's Intel's VP of Marketing. It was in an interview with PC Games N. He said, I challenge you to challenge anyone that wants to compete for this crown to come meet us in real-world gaming. That's the measure that we're going to stand by. Well, John, once we get Ryzen 3000 series CPUs, that is exactly what we will do.
It's not 100% about just real-world gaming, though, anymore, is it? Because that's just one facet of a user experience.
It depends who you're trying to sell to. Like, that's been my sort of statement for the past couple years now, since Ryzen has been a viable option, has been like, look, if all you're ever going to do is game and you never plan to stream or encode video or do anything that's like CPU heavy lifting, then go for Intel, because you're going to get better performance out of the graphics card that you choose to pair it with across all scenarios. But granted, that's mostly at the lower end 1080 resolution where you're more CPU limited than GPU limited, but the point still stands that that might be a better overall experience for you. If the case is that gaming performance is pretty much equivalent, whether you're dealing with Intel or AMD, then it drops down to the next most important thing on your list when it comes to what you want your CPU to do. If both of CPUs are going to game just fine, or not in a discernibly different manner to one another, then after that you'd be like, all right, how does the video transcoding go with one versus the other? What am I buying when it comes to core and thread count? If the single core, single thread performance is roughly equivalent, then you can look directly at the cores and threads and be like, well, I'm getting more cores and more threads with this CPU versus this CPU for less money, or for the equivalent amount of money. And then you have to make a decision based on that. So this is just interesting for Intel to come out and say this, for one, simply because it's not something that you've heard typically from their marketing department in the past. And, I mean, I'm very curious to see, especially given the fact that of all of the benchmark information that AMD shared in the past day or two, they came out and said, look, all of these numbers that we gathered were done without the most recent Windows 10 updates that improve the Windows 10 scheduler to prioritize a single CCX on Ryzen CPUs, and I think Threadripper as well, which does amazing things for gaming because inter-CCX latency is what causes the latency that slows down gaming performance in certain scenarios. So it doesn't have that. Intel has shown to be susceptible to a significant number of security exploits that have come out recently, and the patches for those can often drag down their performance. AMD also said that the Intel benchmarks they ran did not have those updates for security mitigations for stuff like Spectre. So, like, what's going to happen when we do what John is asking us to do here, and test with the software updates in place, and is he going to be eating his words if it turns out the gaming performance is equal? Because that's all they're really looking for. If the gaming performance is equal, then why would you buy an Intel CPU when you can get like all the other areas of performance, you can get much more for your money with AMD.
Right.
And we're talking about a platform that AMD has been supporting for 3+ years now.
Exactly.
That they've come out with now 3 generations of processors that still work on.
Right.
There's a lot of people who maybe invested in 300 series motherboards, even 400 series, who are very happy about the fact that, hey, these new processors, I can just buy one and drop it into my existing system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think AMD has very intentionally targeted a lot of the areas that Intel has not been consumer friendly.
Right.
And they've not been consumer friendly by holding back hyper-threading except for the highest end CPUs.
Yeah.
They've not been consumer friendly by not maintaining the same platform. Even going with the same socket 1151, like, oh no, 300 series motherboards, you need the new motherboard for this stuff.
Overclocking support on
Overclocking's unlocked for overclocking support. They're hitting them on all these points, and up until now, Intel has been able to say, well, we still have the best performing processors. We still have the best performing processors for gaming, for single core performance. And if that goes away, like, what does Intel have to make an argument for?
They've got no more cards, right?
So
and even if they are better, like, at some point people are gonna be like, all right, if AMD is just close enough, if they're like within 5, maybe 10% of the performance, that's almost going to be negligible in real world experience. People are still, I feel like the people who do their research before buying are still going to see the value in the AMD platform. It's like, okay, you were quite ahead. You are a long ways ahead of AMD in terms of gaming performance, and now maybe you're still number one, but AMD has now closed the gap so much to the point where all the other benefits of the platform outweigh that 5% benefit that Intel offers. You know what I mean? It's like, in my book, AMD doesn't even have to match Intel at this point. They have so much else riding for them that they could just get within pretty close, and that'd be good enough for me to say, I'm switching over. You know what I mean?
And all that said, as enthusiastic as I am about what AMD has been doing recently, all Intel really needs to do at this point, once AMD comes out with whatever they come out with, is price cuts. That's not uncommon.
Yeah.
That happens pretty regularly.
Yeah.
When new products come out, price cuts are done to slightly older products to make them more competitive with the newer products. Intel doesn't usually do that, though.
Right.
But you see, like, even NVIDIA, who you could argue is kind of up there with Intel when it comes to their own opinion of their own products, which you could argue is valid and everything. But I don't want to get into that. But even NVIDIA comes out with price cuts, and they say, like, all right, the base price of the whatever GPU is, I can't think of an example right off the top of my head. But point being, if Intel were to come out and be like, all right, we recognize this new competition in the marketplace, well done, AMD. Here's a round of price cuts that now sort of make our products sit in different families and different categories. If they were to do that, then you'd be like, all right,
fair fight.
We're back in this.
Yeah.
But
right.
until that happens, I'm going to be looking at the core and thread counts of what's available for Ryzen 3000 series and being like, look, anyone who's asking me what to buy, like, well, you're going to get more for your money with this.
And that's so true about NVIDIA and Intel, like the opinion that they have of their own products. Like to do a family-wide price cut is to swallow your pride in a lot of ways for a company, right? It's basically saying that our products are not worth as much as we initially said they were. And so I feel like with Intel being the champ in the CPU space for so long, for them to sort of eat their words in that sense is, I don't know, I feel like their ego might be too big still. That they haven't been taken down enough rungs to actually price drop. And so maybe they're still relying on people just seeing Intel as a household brand and who haven't even heard of Ryzen, you know, and they still have enough cash flow coming in other areas to stay profitable. It'll be interesting to see how much pride they swallow, you know, with this launch, if they actually do price cut.
And just to clarify and bring the stuff back down to earth, as Real Vision Gaming is pointing out, these parts are not out yet. We are doing somewhat of forward-looking here.
Oh, yeah.
We have not verified all of the benchmark numbers that AMD has come out with. So all of the stuff we're saying right now about the validity of AMD's products might go out the window if it turns out once we get the parts and test them that, you know, AMD's numbers were false or misleading or whatever, and that there's some secret hidden thing that is causing the performance not to be what it is.
Right.
That could be the case. I'm not expecting that, but as always as you guys should always do, wait for those independent reviews. For now, though, you know, we're looking at what is hopefully going to be a launch that gives a lot of people some pretty good options for choosing some really high-end, high-core count CPUs on a mainstream platform.
Yeah.
So cool. Excited about that. All right.
Yep.
One more story to go over here real quick before we do a little bit of Q&A and stuff. Oh, wait. But before that, what's this?
Dun, 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 dun.
What's this?
Oh,
We're being brought...
Thank you.
Oh, my wife has brought us cookies.
Oh, these look so
These
good.
Cookies.
They look so
All right,
perfect.
I want you to take a bite.
Did you guys make these?
Yeah, I made them. So take a bite and see if you can tell me what the secret ingredient is.
Oh, there's a secret ingredient.
There is a secret ingredient.
Okay.
You think about that while I talk about this. All
I
right.
will.
One more news story, which is the Xbox Game Pass PC, which is actually a pretty cool thing from Microsoft when it comes to Xbox. Like, Xbox gaming, if you're a PC gamer, doesn't always get you very excited, but they have this thing called Xbox Game Pass for PC users who are using Windows 10. It's a subscription-based service. Right now, you can sign up for $5 a month, but I think that's a temporary discount. Yeah, if you signed up yesterday, it was $1 for the first month, but $5 a month. It is eventually going to go up to a flat $10 monthly fee, but you install a loader, or you install sort of like a Steam app kind of
Client?
Yeah, install a client app on your Windows 10 computer, and then you can access 100 plus games. This is supposedly going to be a rotating library of games. So what I'm kind of curious about is what happens, like, if the library rotates and a game that you're playing suddenly isn't available anymore or anything like that. hopefully they have solutions for that, especially if it's a longer game that takes a lot of time and you have a save and you want to keep playing it. Or maybe they just keep adding games. I don't know. But point being, for now, this is the list of games that's going to be available. So if you played Xbox games and you're nostalgic and you want to play them again, or if there are Xbox games that you never played, for instance, the Halo series, which you can see Spartan Assault, Spartan Strike, Definitive Edition, and Halo Wars 2 Standard Edition, all going to be available out of the gate. We also have some Gears of War games.
Are these all Xbox One games, or are they some of them Xbox 360?
It's a mix, because like you have Metro Exodus in here. So some of them are current Xbox games. Some of them are older Xbox games from older generations of Xbox. But yeah, the Halo games being in there is pretty exciting. Links to all the stories I'm talking about today are down in the description if you guys want to go in and take a look at this and check it out for yourself. But $10 a month doesn't seem that bad.
No.
For a set of games, especially $5 a month right now. But I mean,
yeah,
even for $10 a month, we'll have to see if they keep putting good games in there. If they start just filling it with filler, crappy games or something.
My question when I saw this was, what happens if there's a game that you're playing and they swap it out in the middle of your gameplay?
Yes.
So can you request, like, I want to keep playing this game? I'm like, I'm almost there. Like, don't switch it on me. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, you're paying for a subscription. You're not technically paying for the games themselves, so you don't technically own any of these games. You're owning access to a rotating list of games that could potentially change without you knowing. Yes. So it'll be interesting to see how they handle that and if that's going to be an issue for members and stuff. But these are really good. Secret ingredient, I'm not sure, but I'll take a wild guess. Maple syrup?
No.
Ah, shit.
Avocado.
Avocado for the creaminess? Wow. I would have never guessed that because I don't really taste any avocado.
Yeah, I don't taste it very much.
I like avocado, but what does it do? It just makes it texture? The texture thing?
So my wife's friend brought us cookies that were avocado chocolate chip cookies.
Okay.
And they were really good. So we decided to make them ourselves.
Yeah.
Basically, the avocado replaces like half of the butter that you would normally use.
Really?
Yeah.
No way.
So there it is.
So you still use partial butter and partial avocado?
Yeah, there's still some butter. But then you use like a half a cup of avocado in there.
What if you just went full...
No, there's no THC in there.
That was my first guess. When you're like, secret ingredient, I was like, herb.
Those are the brownies.
Bodacious. Oh, yeah. That's good. Okay. Huh.
So
yummy.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Now you taste avocado? No.
Ooh. There's like a weird aftertaste. That's definitely avocado.
All right.
Whoa, that's weird.
There you go.
I'm a changed man. I will never be the same.
Avocado chocolate chip cookies.
Wow. Good stuff, Paul.
Well, thank you. All right. Moving on to Asks the Audience. Do I have a lower thirds? I do. Yay.
ATA.
Okay, so we're going to ask you guys some questions. We will briefly discuss some of the answers. We'll see what you guys have to say. These are straw polls, so they'll be linked in chat. And please go ahead and vote on them so that we can get your responses. 3 questions to ask you guys, just to sort of try to test the waters, see what you guys are thinking. Like we've expressed a decent amount of our opinions when it comes to a lot of this stuff from the past week or two. But we want to know what you guys think. So that's why we have this segment, Ask the Audience. So talking about the CPU side of things and the current battle between AMD and Intel. Basically, the battle is AMD has Ryzen Zen 2 stuff. They're launching in about a month. Intel is promising some 10 nanometer stuff at the end of the year, or even 2020. So we're still sort of waiting on Intel's response, if and what it's going to be to the AMD launches. But are you guys excited for AMD? I tried to make these like the AMD side, Team AMD at the top and Team Intel at the bottom, and then sort of some in-between answers as well. But you got AMD dominating, you got Intel still dominating at the bottom, you got here, which is basically that Intel is going to give up some ground, but we're going to say I tried to make this seem like more even, or AMD's maybe going to get a little bit back, but Intel's still going to be on top. Oh no, there went the Windows update that it threatened me with earlier. So feel free to vote on this one and let me know what you think. Thank you, Sel, for linking the straw poll in chat. We're going to talk about the other straw polls first before we go over the responses. E3 week. We mainly talked about a lot of this stuff on Cal's half of the show, but there's been a ton of E3 announcements, whether it's just people freaking out about Keanu Reeves or what else? I feel like it's mostly been Keanu Reeves. People freaking out
Everything
about Keanu.
begins and ends with Keanu.
Which is as it should be.
Indeed.
He's a good person.
He's a great
But
guy.
just wanted to get some feedback on the E3 stuff.
Okay.
Awesome, just okay, it sucks, or you're completely unaware. And finally,
What day is it?
what?
That should be an option. What day is it?
What's a straw poll? And finally, I want to know your purchasing decisions or intentions when it comes to these AMD launches, because both of them, Ryzen 3000 series and the Radeon RX 5700 series, or at least the two 5700 cards, XT and non-XT, are all launching on the same day, July 7th, 7/7, which I can't blame them for going for 7 nanometer 7/7. Makes a lot of sense.
It's a good marketing ploy.
Mm-hmm.
I can stand behind it.
So
for these,
you're either gonna buy both. You're gonna buy just the CPU, just the GPU.
So for this edition of Ask the Audience, are we trying to argue our own what we personally think? That was not a sentence. Are we trying to argue what we personally feel, or are we trying to guess what the audience is going to pick?
We are trying to guess what the audience is gonna pick.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool with that.
We can give our own opinions too.
Sure. That can factor into the
Yes.
argument. Okay.
All right.
Let's
But
do this.
yeah, all right.
I'm ready.
Back to
Kick your ass.
phase one. What do you think about this current battle?
Oof.
Team Intel, Team AMD, somewhere in the middle.
I'm gonna say the first one. AMD's gonna become the market leader, leave Intel in their dust. 7 nanometer, Team AMD for the win. I think the second option is probably true, but not within the time frame most people think it is. I think Intel is such a big corporate ship that takes so long to turn for any minute change of anything, of the way that they've been doing things for a decade plus, is going to take years for them to change even a little aspect of that. Because right now there's probably a small ragtag team, rogue team at Intel who knows all these things and knows that what they need to change in order to stay competitive, but it's fucking Intel. They're a massive whale. It's going to take that little ragtag team years until they finally get the support they need to actually put these things into place. And I think eventually, maybe 2 years down the line, they might start to steer that ship in the right direction. But for now, this is AMD's time to shine.
Oh, my laptop just went to sleep. Okay.
Awaken!
I feel like you argued most of what I was gonna say.
Oh.
Because I'm gonna go with the second option here. But I think you make a good point, which is that if Intel does respond, it's probably not going to be right off the bat. They're probably not going to announce price breaks. I mean, who knows? Maybe they might, but I would seriously doubt it. I don't think Intel's going to be announcing price breaks on July 7th, or even right around that time frame. I think what it will come down to for Intel is sales numbers. They're going to have to look at what's selling,
Right.
and how much of an impact AMD's new products are having on the sales of their existing products. And if it's significant enough, if they're hurting bad enough, then they'll be like, all right, we need to do something.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how much discussion like the type we're having right now, or that people are having in chat, applies to that or whatever. But I would bet the option 2 here. They're gonna lose some ground to AMD. I don't know if AMD is gonna the big question for me is is AMD gonna claw their way back up to 40-50%? Are they gonna go over 50%?
Market share?
Yeah. I mean, and that depends on what you're talking about, whether you're talking about home use or enterprise and server side of it, whatever. A lot of the stats you see will, you have to look carefully at what they're including there. But I would be curious for at least the home market if AMD is able to get back closer to 50%, or even over after some time goes by. But I think it will largely depend on what Intel has to say. But let's see what the results are. We've given long enough. Hey, that's it.
Yeah.
I win. 59%.
Well, I mean, I sided with that point.
You did
to a degree.
I feel like you made the argument for that point, even though you were choosing the top one.
Yeah, covered my bases there.
But I mean, top two answers here, getting 85% of the vote.
Right.
That's a lot. I mean, it seems like, at least from our audience, a lot of people are have some high expectations for these AMD products.
Yeah.
And I hope they deliver, because I think that'll be good for the consumers.
Yeah, definitely.
Only 1%, only 8 votes for the team Intel. But I mean, honestly, if you're taking that stance right now, it means you're very much a fanboy.
Yeah.
At this point.
Right.
But let's move on.
Cool.
E3 week. How's it been going for people?
Oh yeah. All right, you go first on this.
I think people think it's awesome. I'm gonna go for the "it's awesome" option here, and that people are very excited. And this is probably largely based on my Twitter feed and stuff, because I've been seeing lots of people talk about it. Flip side of that is that I follow a lot of people who are in the industry and stuff. So there's a lot of people who are there at the event. So what else are they going to be tweeting and doing pictures about? But man, that Keanu Reeves thing, that just exploded.
So much hype.
All over. If you looked at Reddit, it was every other thread. That was kind of crazy there.
He's like a meme
But
lord.
yeah, I feel like there have been some pretty big announcements already so far. So yeah, I think people are probably pretty excited about the announcements that have been made and stuff.
I'll tell you why you're wrong, Paul. I think people are just a little bit on the meh side of things when it comes to E3 this year. I think that E3 has exhausted all of their good cards. All of their secret weapons are already out, laid out on the table, and it's all downhill from here. Nothing else is going to be very interesting. I think people were looking forward to Xbox Project Scarlet being released later this year, and now they're finding out it's being pushed a year back. I think the titles that were shown off this year look very compelling, but most of the content and material has been in the form of cinematic trailers, where we're not really seeing any real gameplay, any raw gameplay, which is really at the core of whether or not these titles are going to succeed or not. So yeah,
it's a very valid complaint.
Very, very interesting. It's very, very easy to wow a crowd with a trailer, with the cinematic trailer, But the actual mechanics of the game will inevitably be what defines how well the C3 did. So.
All right. So you're going for option
I'm going to go
two,
the second option there.
Just okay.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what you guys have to say. All right, Kyle wins.
Wow. Okay. I was
okay.
going to pick your option first.
We got some middle of the road, but hey, I mean,
sense.
that's still a third of people who are very, very stoked and excited.
Yeah.
The what's E3 getting more of a vote than the E3 sucks crowd. I mean, you're kind of splitting your votes there.
Most people don't know what year it is.
All right, that's good to know.
All right.
Last question for asking the audience: 3950X and or Radeon RX 5700 XT. Let's make this quick.
Yep.
Let's just pick and go.
Yes, both.
Kyle says yes, both. I'm going to choose upgrading, but to one of the lower models. Okay. Results. Hey,
Yep.
I win.
Good call.
Wow. No thanks for over a quarter of the
You
viewers.
picked the number one vote. I picked the last vote. The
Yes,
last possible vote. It was the
Only
first one I
33
saw. I was like,
people,
you should make it quick. I was
34
like, yep,
people.
that one.
All right. Hey, fair enough. But lots of people planning to upgrade to one of the lower models. That's a pretty blanket statement anyway. So whether you're talking about upgrading the GPU or the CPU.
Yeah, sure.
But cool. All right, awesome.
Caught
Thanks
that
for all your feedback on those guys. It's always interesting to get the feedback from the Ask the Audience segment.
Mm-hmm.
Before we go, we're going to answer some questions that have been asked in chat and give some shout-outs. We usually do this during an after party, but we're trying to keep things slightly short today so that Kyle can drive home before he falls asleep from jet lag.
Beer's
We will be bringing back the after party probably starting next week, but
Yeah.
it'll depend if Kyle... You're going to rebuild the streaming system?
Yes.
Right.
That's in the works.
Okay,
Probably
cool.
work on that this week.
It's good. It's important.
Okay, so first off, Bazinga X, $10. Thank you very much, sir. By the way, these are super chat donations, people who donated to Paul and I. Why did you kill Lyle? Hashtag we want Lyle.
Did Lyle die?
I killed him because yesterday's stream that I did, I said because everyone was like talking about Lyle in chat, and I was feeling very jealous, and I had a fleeting moment of human jealousy, and I said if anyone mentions Lyle one more time in chat, I'm gonna kill him. Wow. And right after I said that, about 500 people commented Lyle in chat. So they clearly wanted him dead. It was your doing, people. You killed him at the end of the day. So
how can you blame Kyle for that?
I cut the stream momentarily so I could sneak off, kill Kyle or Lyle really quick. Well, how did I make that confusion?
How'd you do it?
That will all be revealed in time.
Okay. So I probably shouldn't just admit that on the stream because the police investigation is still ongoing.
If I reveal the details, that goes against me. So
forensics is.
Lyle has been known
waiting
to.
On some,
Lyle has been learning an ancient Chinese resurrection technique. However, though that could potentially bring him back at any time. Which
Lyle's Chinese.
Some say.
Okay.
Some speculate that he might be of the Asian.
I know there's a lot
Orient.
of fans out there who have been trying to pinpoint that. I was just for you guys. I was trying to get that nailed down, but
I mean he
always,
he's
always very wily with those details about Lyle's history and everything.
Indeed. Well, thank you for your concern.
Such a dark past.
Thank you for your concern, Bazinga. Delta, we have $5. Thank you, sir. Do you think X470 prices will fall after 7/7, June 7th, or July 7th, or should I just get an X470 board now? If there's a good deal, it will only be a gaming build.
That is an interesting question.
I don't think prices will drop that much.
I don't think prices will drop that much either.
Not
Again,
on
just because of how AMD is positioning the X570, I think they're going to start out kind of in the more premium area.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, you might see some of the higher end X470s go on sale if they're trying to clear out inventory of those because they feel like the X570s are a better option. But honestly, if you're just building a gaming rig, B450, like you don't need X470. There's $100 to $120 B450 boards. There's the Asus B450-F Gaming. There's the MSI B450 Tomahawk that are really solid boards that do everything that you need them to do. They don't have some of the higher end features when it comes to like surface mounted stuff and whatever, but like they work just fine. And by and large, you don't need the higher end stuff. So that's where I would point you.
Yeah, I would say that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Bazinga X once again, $10 again. Thanks, Bazinga. Kyle, the bots are the ghost of Lyle getting his revenge.
Cool.
Yeah, I considered that. I thought maybe he was, attacking me from the grave.
And Lyle's like really into porn.
He's a porn addict.
Constantly.
He taught me how to build a RAID 1 array because he has one for his porn. He just has like 30 drives. Actually, it's RAID 10. He RAID 10s all of his porn drives. And it's just... I've inherited them.
They need to make a RAID 69. That'd be...
RAID 69.
Cool. RAID 69.
Never be without
Specific
your porn.
RAID configuration for storing
for
porn. Stores porn and...
How would that work? Like the RAID array is also prone... it's also... it's like seam resistant?
Well, like the hard drives in the array would have like neon... Like gaudy neon lighting and stuff around them.
They'd be clear hard drives.
Like a strip club or something. They'd be clear hard drives. They'd be like the old
LEDs.
WD Raptors with the clear, so you can see everything. You can just see everything. But yeah,
they all connect with the universal stripper pole. Just plugs into each of them. And, they're all.
I'm sure we could keep expanding on this.
They're all bodily fluid resistant. All right. Thank you very much, Bazinga, once again. Let's go with Daniel Silva, $4.99. You rock? No, you rock. Thank you very much, Daniel.
No, you're breathtaking.
Sorry. Classic Keanu. Pup Shepherd, $5. Hope you're all doing well. Wags.
Hey, Pup.
I did my first paid film gig.
Oh.
Some people just wanted me to film a 60th college reunion and edit the whole video to DVD.
All right.
That's cool.
I'm glad you told us what the film gig was. Otherwise, you would have left it to our imagination.
And
we would have imagined.
We have little data to speculate on what that could have been.
But congrats, Pup.
Yeah, it seems very wholesome
and
family friendly and safe for work. Thank you very much, Pup.
You put that money to good use.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Bazinga X once again. This is for Paul's half.
Bazinga.
$20. $20. How's the baby doing?
She's great. Yeah.
She's super cute.
She's Kyle said hi to her earlier.
She's getting cuter every day.
Yeah, she's very cute.
The cutest.
You know, getting much more accustomed to the sort of messed up sleep schedule, getting woken up from time to time. My wife is an absolute saint because she knew that the sleep thing was messing me up and sort of affecting my ability to come out and like make videos. Because like if my brain's not working and I want to sit down and talk on a camera, like
there's no way.
It's very difficult. So she has been like not waking me up more, like if the baby just needs a quick diaper change or something like that. So that's been really helpful for me too. So
I'll be sure to pass that information down to Heather when.
Tell her. Tell her, look, I don't want to wake up at night. All right, you take care of it. And
unless she wants to shoot the videos, that's fine with me too.
Oh yeah, that's cool.
Change all the diapers.
But yeah, she's doing great, and yeah, I mean there have been some times where I felt like super drained and tired and just like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna get through this? But by and large, I'm feeling much better when it comes to that. And yeah, she's incredibly cute.
She's so cute.
Anyway, I could keep talking about my baby, so let's move on.
All right.
Thanks, Bazinga.
JJ5 Cool
JJ.
$4.99. I missed you guys.
No, we miss you too.
Wow, it's quite a reaction.
It's good to be back.
It's a loud scream.
It's always nice to take a little break and then come back to it.
Thank you, Mr. Cool.
Thank you.
Liberative, $5. So with X570 PCI Gen 4 with Ryzen 3, will the Navi cards perform better than over PCI 3? Is it enough to matter?
That is interesting. A very good question. A question I have as well. We're not going to know for sure until the cards come out and people do comparisons. I guarantee there's going to be people who have run benchmarks comparing Gen 3 to Gen 4 with Navi cards pretty quick. My guess would be something similar to comparing PCI Express Gen 2 to Gen 3.
So not much.
Back when the cards were kind of on the cusp of that changeover, which is that the faster, or like Gen 4 is going to give you like a 0.5% to maybe 1.5%.
Yeah, it's nothing to write home
improvement.
about.
So, yeah, a little bit faster, maybe a few extra frames.
Storage is what you're looking at.
But yeah, storage, I think. I was going to bring this up earlier, but when you look at the Ryzen 3000 series stuff coming out that's mainstream, and the existing Threadripper stuff, when people are like, well, what good is Threadripper now? Threadripper is really all about I/O.
Yeah.
You have tons more I/O in PCI Express lanes. But now you're going to have Ryzen 3000 series that has Gen 4.
Right.
Fewer PCI Express lanes, but faster.
Yeah.
So for those really fast NVMe SSDs that are going to be coming out, that's the only platform that's going to work until Threadripper 3 comes, if and when that. We have no idea when that's going to happen, if it's in the works or if it's coming soon or anything.
You could easily argue that X570 is going to be a better workstation platform than X399, depending on your use case scenario.
Depending on your use case scenario. And I can see some people building like some video editing rigs.
Yeah.
Because you have a decent amount of I/O too. You can use 8 lanes.
Yeah.
For a graphics card. You can use 8 more lanes for like an add-on PCI Express card with some NVMe SSDs in there. You've got 4 lanes dedicated to an NVMe SSD, which is one of my favorite things they did with the PCI Express layout on existing Ryzen as well as next-gen Ryzen.
Yeah.
So you can still get a pretty decent storage array configuration on there.
Right.
It's just you're not going to be able to do something like what I have set up in Riptide right now, which is like I have 3 different RAID 0. I have 3 different RAID 0 arrays on that system.
Damn.
Plus 4 other drives connected.
Yeah. Just
so
pure mass storage.
You can't get that type of thing on there.
Sure.
So if you have multiple drives, anyway. So
that's nuts.
I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, I think so. Gingerhawk Gaming PC, $9.99. Hi, Paul. I have an Aorus ROG X470F gaming motherboard and an R7 2700X. Does ASUS call XMP something else in the BIOS? I don't see it. I have 32 gigs, 8x4, 3200 megahertz G-Skill Trident Z RGB RAM. It's only stable at 2800 megahertz. Help.
Oh. All right, well, G-Skill Trident Z RGB, there's a couple different variants of the 3200 speed. One is the ones that definitely use the B-die memory that have universally worked for me. I think that's the only kit that they've sent me, though. That said, Asus calls it DOCP. It's like direct overclocking profile or something.
Oh, yeah.
I don't like it. I hate that they've changed the name for that.
That's weird.
One of the other things for Ryzen 3000 series that AMD said they did was they worked with the motherboard manufacturers to unify the nomenclature for all of those things in the BIOS when it comes to overclocking, which I'm really hoping takes, because it can get really confusing if you're going from one manufacturer to another, or if you have something that works really well in one and you want to kind of duplicate it on the other. So yeah, DOCP is what that is. And usually they have like DOCP, and then there's like a few OC modes that they have in it there. So try that out, and it should work. Alternatively, you can just go in and manually set the frequency to 3200, and then you can also go in and manually set the timings yourself to what the kit has listed, and you might have success that way. But try those DOCP profiles. Hopefully that'll work for you.
Word.
Stephen Hill, what's up, Steve?
We have a lot of donations to go, so we're going to run through these a little bit more quickly.
And everyone stop donating. We got to cut off donations.
So you can cut it off if you want.
Okay.
Stephen Hill, $10, going for a full custom water loop in July for shits and gigs. I know it makes no sense. Hope you guys are doing all right. Hey, you know what? If you're going to build a custom water cool loop, July is a perfect time of the year to do it. That's when things are going to be heating up. Yep. When you could really benefit maybe from an extra few degrees of cooling potential. It's a fun experience if you've never done it before. And if you have, then you just get to practice your bends if you're going hardline. And what else? Oh yeah, you can make a badass looking system that you can take an extra layer of pride in that you did it yourself, because there is quite a bit more thought process and effort that's required for a custom loop PC. But good luck, Steven. I hope it turns out well. Be sure to tweet us the finished result. I'd love to see it in action.
Me too.
You got something there, Paul?
I was going to do mail time today, but I think there's a couple people who said they recently sent stuff to my P.O. box, but I don't think they've arrived yet, so I'll try to do that again next week. This is from John and his partner, and they are both of our merch people, and they're awesome, and we love them. We love them so much. It says, hey, Paul,
John.
Congratulations to you and Diana, daughters rule. I have two myself.
Nice.
Thank you very much, John. This is what he sent. We have some onesies.
What? That's awesome.
Look at that.
Shits and giggles.
Shits and giggles.
Isn't that funny how Stephen Hill's donation actually said, I'm doing it for shits and giggles?
Oh yeah, he specifically said shits and giggles, like he knew that.
Wow.
That's very
conspiracy.
Cool.
That's great.
This is what I was really hoping for. Look at that.
Oh, the thumb screw.
Yay!
Oh, that's awesome.
We have a thumb screw logo onesie.
That's awesome.
For baby Hannah.
Beautiful.
Awesome. And finally we got the same thing in pink.
Badass.
That's a hot pink too, right there.
Oh, that's like a hotline. There's a hotline shirt right there. That's very
awesome.
Cool.
Thank you, John. I don't know if you're watching right now, but thank you so much.
She'll be really cute.
Yeah, we're gonna dress her up in these and take pictures. Okay.
All right. Wilf M 6.35 British pounds. What GPU do you speculate Cyberpunk will need for 1080p? Would it be more than a 1060 or a GTX 1060 or 1070 bar RTX? You guys are awesome. Well done. Out of words.
It's really hard to say at this point. I don't even know what gaming engine it's using or anything. Although that information might be out there, I just don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either.
But 1060, 1070 is a very good card. Both are very good cards, especially for 1080. So I would guess you're probably okay if that's what you're working with right now.
Might have to lower the settings here and there, but I think you'll be fine.
But yeah, 1080. I think you're fine with those.
Depends on your standards for visual quality.
Yeah.
Different filters and stuff. $45. Hi, Paul and Kyle. I'm trying to decide on putting together a build, either going with a Threadripper 2950X or getting a 3950X. Which one?
Wow, that's a tough call right now.
Yeah. Wait for reviews.
Yeah, I would say wait a month if you can, if it's not urgent, to see the reviews for the 3950X, because you're going to see performance numbers not just against Intel, but also comparing them to Threadripper numbers. And then at that point,
I think 3950X is more fun.
I would kind of lean towards the 3950X if you don't need all the I/O that Threadripper gives you, if you don't need the quad channel memory and everything.
And maybe you do need fast storage, or you want to take advantage of fast storage.
If you want to take advantage of fast storage, because you're probably going to be able to get your overall system set up when it comes to the cost of the motherboard and CPU for a good amount cheaper least a couple $100 probably.
Definitely.
Than a 2950X
Right.
and an X399 motherboard, because the X399 motherboards tend to be very expensive.
Yeah. Good example of like how AMD's kind of competing with themselves in some way. But good luck on that 40, Thievy Chow. Thievy Chow, $20. Finally graduated with an associate's degree in general biology from nearby
Nice.
community college. Congratulations.
Congrats, Stevie.
Got accepted to a CSU nearby. Double congrats. Been subscribed for the longest time. Here's to the next 1 million subscribers for you both.
Glorious.
Thanks, Stevie.
Thanks, Stevie. Cheers.
Congrats, dude. Andrew Hendricks, 5 Canadians. Best way to use an X470 board with Ryzen 3000 CPU if you don't have an AMD CPU.
What?
Best way to use an X470 board with Ryzen 3000 if you don't... I'm not sure if I understand the question.
You have to have an AMD CPU. I don't understand your question either, Andrew. I'm sorry.
Best way to use an X470 board with Ryzen 3000 if you don't have... Maybe if you don't have a Ryzen 2nd gen CPU? Like, what...
Yeah.
But then it's still...
Like the
like,
closest
what are the
the
benefits?
closest thing I can assume based on how the question is phrased is he's asking
How
if it's
can you-
okay
to use a 3000
to put a 3000 series CPU in
X470 board.
an X470 motherboard.
I see. So he's building a system for his first time, considering saving some money on an X470 board, but also getting a Ryzen 3000 series CPU.
Yeah.
Can he still take advantage fully of that chip? Is he going to lose anything? Honestly, AMD's kept it pretty backwards and forwards compatible. The only thing you'll be definitely missing out on, at least for now, is PCIe Gen 4, which shouldn't be a problem for most gamers if you're just gaming and stuff. I think you're pretty good there. It's actually something that I would suggest to some of my friends and stuff if they're trying to save some coin, that you're not going to be missing out a whole lot. Is the long and short
Some
of
people
it.
in chat are pointing out you would need a BIOS update for the X470 board, which may or may not be a problem for you depending on the type of board it is. There's quite a few motherboards now that you can update the BIOS on just with a USB stick without needing a CPU installed.
Right.
Some, though, you would need to get, like if you got an older X470 board that didn't have a current BIOS that was ready for Ryzen 3000 series, you'd need to get an existing first or second gen Ryzen CPU to drop it in there, to boot it up,
actually boot.
update the BIOS, and then swap that out for your 3000 series.
It's a catch-22.
That is something that you might have to worry about if you were going for that setup.
Yeah.
But yeah, in that case, I would recommend going for like an Asus motherboard that has USB BIOS flashback, or Gigabyte and MSI have those features as well. I forget what they're called. Asus is called
Easy Flash?
Easy Flash, yeah, something like that. I forget. But anyway, that's what you'd be concerned about.
Yeah.
Beyond that, though, like Cal said, it's mainly just PCI Express Gen 4 versus Gen 3.
Yeah.
You're only going to get Gen 3 with X470, which probably isn't a big deal unless you really want a Gen 4 super fast SSD. Okay.
Chris Warren, $5. Gigabyte X370 Gaming 5. Good enough for 8-core Zen 2 overclocking. A Gigabyte X370 Gaming 5. 8-core? For an 8-core?
So I'm not directly familiar with like the power delivery setup on that motherboard. The 5 series, the gaming 5 series from Gigabyte are usually kind of in the mid-range, so I would expect it to be okay.
Yeah.
When you're talking about overclocking performance for any given motherboard, chances are like the super high-end boards are maybe going to be able to eke out an extra 100 or 200 megahertz out of a chip.
Yeah.
Compared to lower-end boards. It's only the more extreme situations, like a super low-end board and a super high-end chip, where you'll have difficulty pushing any overclock.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
I think that whatever performance hit that you would take from trying to overclock on X370 wouldn't be enough to warrant buying an X470 or X570 motherboard. So unless you actually needed to milk that slight bit of performance out of your CPU.
So if you've already got the X370 Gaming 5, go ahead and upgrade your CPU and install it, and you're good.
The Human Germ, $5. My biggest question is what will be the sweet spot for AMD RAM?
Good question. I have an answer for you. Specifically for 3000 series, there's an interesting divider that happens when you go over DDR4 3800. So the sweet spot for Ryzen 3000 series memory, what they're recommending is DDR4 3600. That's kind of like
3733, right?
Yeah.
Right.
You're getting ahead of me. So,
sorry.
like what we currently recommend for Ryzen 1st and 2nd gen is like 3200 speed memory.
Mm-hmm.
For 3rd gen, it's going to be 3600 speed memory. It's kind of that, like, that's where you're going to get the most bang for your buck. You should be able to get a kit for that speed without spending too much money for, like, you know, the super high-end kits or anything like that.
Yeah.
3600, 3733 are good speeds. Once you go to 3800, it goes from a 1-to-1 ratio with the Infinity Fabric to a 1-to-2 ratio when it comes to the clock speed. So we're going to need to wait and see benchmark numbers on how that affects performance of stuff like games and everything.
Does that mean the clock speed actually gets cut in half once you go beyond that
It
frequency?
means that the Infinity Fabric, whereas with 3600, is ticking. So like 3600 megahertz, that's 3600 times per second. Actually, that's more than that because megahertz is 1,000.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that's that many times per second that it's ticking.
Right.
And Infinity Fabric is ticking at that speed.
Yeah.
Go up to 3800. Infinity Fabric is ticking once for every 2 transfers.
Once
for every 2 cycles.
I see.
So instead of 3800, Infinity Fabric is actually going to be ticking at
16.
Half of 3800, which
16. Or no.
1800.
18.
1800.
No, that's 36. Yeah.
1800.
Later in the show.
So that's going to be a question that comes up. Like,
Interesting.
the faster memory speed might be better for some scenarios.
Right.
The slower Infinity Fabric tick speed might be detrimental to some scenarios. So that's going to be a wait and see scenario. Yeah.
Okay.
You probably can't find 3733 memory. Oh, sorry. People saying it's 3766, not 3733.
Oh, 3766.
That's a memory divider point that they'd have in the BIOS. So you
Right.
might not be able to find memory that's at that exact speed, but if you found faster memory, you could probably set it to run at that divider.
Right.
But yeah, probably 3600 speed memory if you're looking at Ryzen 3000 series is what you should be looking at to buy.
Cool.
Okay.
Next up we have Cell Processing, $5. Thank you, Cell.
Thanks, Cell.
Hey, in my mind, Nintendo won E3, Breath of the Wild 2, and a Dark Crystal game. And John Romero of Doom fame is making an XCOM-style game with 1930s gangsters. Awesome. That actually sounds pretty cool. I haven't seen any of that as far as the XCOM stuff or the Dark Crystal game. I know Wifey Sauce would be excited about that because she loves that.
I think I saw a little bit of a preview of that game you're talking about. I didn't catch the name of it though.
Yeah.
But that is cool.
Yeah, Nintendo seemed to have a lot of good reception for this year.
It's been so long since I had a Nintendo system. I've only been able to like.
Switch is great.
Yeah.
I really like the Switch because, especially for someone like me who has little time to game, apart from when I'm actually traveling, it's a console that allows you to travel with it. So it's like you can play AAA titles on the go.
See, and I've never been
it's
into
awesome.
portable game devices ever since Game Boy came out. Like I just never was really that into it. But you're right.
It's a different experience,
That
though.
might give me a better chance of actually
definitely
playing a
different.
game. But
Yeah.
yeah, the Zelda games are probably what's been my most the thing that's been made me think like, well, maybe I should get a Switch. But for now, Final Fantasy VII.
Yes.
That doesn't come out for a while though.
Geardink, $5. Love you both. Watched for years. Do you think Zen 3000
you.
is maxed out already for OC? I think Intel is a bigger threat to NVIDIA GPUs. What do you think?
The Intel threat, when it comes to the GPU side, is still very much in the ether.
Yeah.
They have been gathering a lot of good talent to their team,
True.
both on the technical side as well as on the marketing side.
Right.
Some of the marketing side stuff I've seen them do, I've not been that impressed with. Like, they had a bunch of those mock-up designs for the graphics cards.
Yeah, it was
And I
kinda
was
weird.
like, because the guy who originally did those just did them.
As a fan.
And then they started getting spread around, and people were like, oh, these are the designs for Intel's new graphics cards. And then it turns out, no, it was just a fan-made design. But then Intel got in touch with that guy and had to make some more. And then that was like their announcement. Like, hey, look at these cool
right.
designs for the GPUs. And I'm like, those are cool designs. That's good artwork.
But is it actually going to be indicative of the real thing?
Are any of those designs practical in any way? Like the steampunk ones that show little gears moving and stuff.
right.
Like they're never actually going to make a graphics card that looks like that. So
Right.
for me, a lot of that sort of amounted to fluff.
Yeah.
I appreciated the designs.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong there at all. And I think it is cool to have unique and innovative designs when it comes to that that side of things.
Right, but it wasn't good official marketing
yeah,
fodder.
and it's so early to determine what Intel's actually going to come out with. You could look at it like Intel has been the market leader for CPUs. They should know what they're doing. They should come out with a strong competitive product. Or you could look at it like Intel's been promising us 10 nanometer for like 3+ years now, and they still haven't launched it. And AMD has come up behind them and then launched 7 nanometer while they've been twiddling their thumbs or doing whatever they've been doing. So, like, I don't know. That's a good question. I'm just as curious as you are as to what the performance of those Intel graphics cards are going to be once they actually finally come to market.
Yeah. House, $5. Will Ryzen 3000 multi-chiplet processors like the 12 and 16 core have a game mode that shuts off half the cores through software BIOS like Threadripper does? That's a good question, too.
They did have an updated version of the Ryzen Master utility, the software that you can use.
You should be able to
I
do
didn't
that.
look at it to see if that was a game mode thing they could turn on and off, but I think you might actually not need it anymore if you're using the updated version of Windows, 1903 or later, the most recent version, because that fixes the Windows 10 scheduler.
The latency between the CCX
So yeah,
units.
if you're using that version, then it's going to focus on a single CCX, and it's only going to start using another CCX once one CCX is utilized to its maximum capacity.
Right.
And that should fix a huge amount of gaming issues, because most games aren't going to need more than 4 cores or threads. So most games can just stick to one CCX, not worry about the inner CCX latency.
Yeah.
So, probably a good question when it comes to like gaming mode versus creator mode, and if you are doing something that uses more. But yeah, I don't think it's quite as bad as Threadripper, where you have 2 dies that potentially aren't directly connected to a memory controller.
Yeah.
So yeah, again, that's probably something we'll have to wait and see. But I think for at least the mainstream Ryzen stuff, that Windows 10 update is going to be a better solution than switching game mode on or off. Hopefully that's the case.
Yeah. And finally, we have Nubis for $10. Hey guys, I'm thinking of upgrading from the 1700 to the 3700. I have a GTX 1080 currently. Is it worth upgrading to an RTX 2070 or 2080, or see what Navi offers? I think the 1070 is still a great card, even if you're at 1440p.
He has a 1080 currently.
Oh, sorry, what did I say?
You said 1070.
Oh, sorry. I think the 1070 is great for 1440p still. Obviously, the RTX cards in question are quite a bit faster. It kind of just depends on what level of performance you're looking for. I think the 1080 is still well matched for a 3700, or it's going to be, for an 8-core Ryzen 3000 CPU. So it just sort of depends on what your standards are for the kind of frame rates you want to see. If you have a need or a desire for ray tracing, real-time ray tracing capabilities. That is, unless you're going Navi, which, I don't know. I think the 1080 is still a very relevant card. And I don't see much use in upgrading to this generation right now. If it were me personally, I'd probably wait another generation to upgrade my 1080. I think the 1080 is still a really good card.
I agree. All right, quick shout-outs to people who donated money, but we're not going to answer your question because donations were cut off. Sorry about that. But Tobias Wendler, thank you very much. Get it, RTX 2060. Jared Melton, thank you very much. I am going to take a sip, and I will give you testing notes when I have them.
I've got a couple Johnsons.
Paul Kazi, Gray Bishop, and Tim T. I'm going to answer Tim T's questions. Expectations for Threadripper 3 or Threadripper 3000 series when it comes to core count. If you look at Epic and the way they've been configuring the chiplets on Epic, potentially up to 64.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
8 of the 8 core dies on a single chip, which is pretty insane.
That's so nuts.
Yeah. That would be 64 cores, 128 threads, by the way. All right. You've got
some Johnsons.
Johnson.
Johnson to Jared for picking up a Screw with Confidence shirt. Thank you, sir. We also have Michael C. Screw with Confidence as well. And I've got 2 more here. One from Jonathan. Thank you for picking up a Screw with Confidence. Flying off the shelves. And one more. Matthew with a Beware of Bottlenecks shirt. Thanks for breaking the chain.
Jared gets a double Johnson.
Johnson.
He also got the bottle opener from the Paul's Hardware site.
Woo!
Mark from Utah. Johnson, for you, the captive thumbscrew shirt. Thank you.
Nice.
It's a good shirt. It's a very good shirt.
Good shirt.
Finally, Matthew K. from Tennessee.
Hey.
The Tri-Blend thumbscrew shirt.
Excellent.
Also an excellent choice. Thank you so much, Johnsons, to all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining us for Awesome Hardware this evening. We had a great time. I hope you guys did too.
Yeah.
If you're still watching live and you want something else to do now that we're done streaming, feel free to raid twitch.tv/unexceptionalgamer.
Exactly how it's spelled.
Exactly how it's spelled.
2 words.
Unexceptional Gamer. We're going to be rating them on Twitch. Thanks again, Sel, for being here and being an awesome moderator. And thanks to you guys again for watching. Hit the thumbs up button if you want to. And I'll hopefully, if we get some timestamps down in the comment section, I will pin those as soon as I can. All right, thanks, guys. Goodbye.
Bye.